Hello, my name is Myra. Welcome back to another video. So in today's video, I wanted to go ahead and talk about all of the books that I read in November. I actually had a really good reading month. Did I read, 50 books this month? No, which I never have anyway, but I actually read a lot of new to me authors, and I feel like I have been living under a rock. Even though these books are super popular, it's those books that you have had on your TBR for a long time, and when you finally get to them, you're like, why didn't I read this sooner? So anyway, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm gonna go ahead and start off with my book club picks for the month. So I am actually in two book clubs. I have my Latina book club, and then I have my book club that I have with some of my really close friends. My friend started it with her close friends, so now we've all become really close friends. Anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and start with those. So for the book club with my friends, we actually read Ward D by Frida McFadden. I have read one other Frida McFadden book, and that was The Inmate. I actually really liked it. It was a quick read, very suspenseful. You don't really know who did it, like those type of books. And this was very similar vibes, but of course, totally different. So you have Amy, she is this medical student, and part of their rotation while they're working for their degree is to do some shifts at a psychiatric facility. And she gets assigned to Ward D, which is kind of, I guess, where you can have the patients that are a little bit more at risk, or at risk of either hurting you, hurting themselves, things like that. And she is very scared to stay there. She kind of has this thought of, they're gonna keep me in here, something's gonna happen, blah, blah, blah. In true Frida McFadden fashion, of course, there's twists and turns. I did see some of it kind of coming. Some of it I was surprised and did not expect. This was not a favorite book of mine. It was hard to get through the writing style. I am not a writer, okay? The only writing that I've done is for school, for essays and stuff like that. I've never written a book. So props to her, but the writing, I couldn't do it. But it was our book club pick, so I did read it, but it was like a 2-star read for me. Now, the next book actually is for my other book club. This is my Latina book club, and we read Abuelita's Magical Molcajete by Mole Mama. So this is the cover of the book, but this one, although it looks very, very cute from the cover, it is a very cute and wholesome story, but it deals with very heavy topics, specifically grief. You have our main, FMC, who her name is Maria, and she has just suffered the loss of her twin sister. She is a 42-year-old math professor, and she is going through it. As Maria is going through this process of grieving her sister, and if you've ever lost anyone, and this is kind of like a side note, you kind of just learn to live with that grief. There's no such thing as getting over grief. And that is something that I think the author really highlighted in here, is that it's okay to grieve them, and it's going to take time, and you never really fully get over it. You just learn to live with that grief. But know that there is a lot of really sweet and wholesome moments in this story. Essentially what happens with Maria is that one day she hears a lot of noises coming from her kitchen, and when she goes downstairs, she sees like her grandma and her aunts, except that her grandma and her aunts have passed away. Like, they've been dead for years. And so she is like, I think I'm dreaming, what is going on? And they're like, listen, we have no time, we need to teach you how to cook. And so every single month, on the 9th of every month, they come to visit her and teach her these recipes. And there's this whole story of why, and it's so wholesome. And I don't want to continue with like the book, just so you can kind of go into it if that sounds like something that you want to, but just know that because her sister has passed, and because she really misses her sister, maybe she will get to see her sister. I don't know. That's all I'm gonna say. But we did actually get to meet the author at our book club meeting that we literally just had yesterday. The author drove from San Diego to our meeting spot in order to talk about the book. And we got to eat with her and talk about the book, talk about grief, talk about our families, and what it means to be Latinas, and what it means to have this connection through cooking. And it was beautiful. And one of the things that she gave us and that she had was some of the recipes that are mentioned in the book, these recipe cards. She actually gave us the ingredients and directions, and these are items that are mentioned in the book. I think the only one that wasn't was this one, the chimichurri, but she has a ton of them, I think, on her website as well. And it just, I don't know, this book just kind of hit different. And she did sign the book, so I thought it was awesome, and we did get to take a picture together as well. So it was just a really good time, and I would honestly recommend this to anybody. You don't have to be Latina to read this book. Honestly, I think that maybe people that are grieving, they should know that that's what this book is about. But I think that this is perfect for when you are feeling that loss, or when you are missing a loved one that has since passed. I think that this will just feel like a giant hug. So definitely recommend this book. The next book that I'm going to talk about, this is a book I had seen everywhere. Okay, I had seen everywhere, like in person, and also other people just like on Bookstagram and TikTok and stuff talk about it. And it's one of the ones that I said that it's when you're like, why did I read this before? And that is Immortal Dark by Tigris Girma. So this book has vampires in a way that I had never seen before. So the main FMC of this book is Kiran. And Kiran is at the start of this book looking for her sister desperately. And she thinks that the person that took her sister and that is responsible for her sister being missing is Suseños. Suseños is her family's vampire. So the way that the vampires work in this system is that the vampires can only feed from these certain families. So from like the beginning of time, you can kind of think about it, these vampires got assigned and they can only drink the blood of those that they are assigned to. It's been going for years and years and years. And Kiran is like, Suseños took my sister because only her and her sister are the last two living relatives of this particular house. She ends up being able to sign up to the school where she's going to get her training to master her house, because these houses, although they are assigned to each family, they have magic and they can influence your emotions. There's like this whole magic system that she, like Tigris, came up with that is so interesting and so unique that it just, I don't know. I've never ever read a story like this before. It's like dark academia vibes, and she's unraveling all these mysteries. She knows she has to like ally with some people, but she doesn't know if she can fully trust them. And at the same time, she's forced to be living with Suseños, who claims to not have done anything to her sister, but a lot of signs point to him maybe being responsible. So it just goes from there. This is going to be a trilogy. I read this book, 5 stars, loved it 100%. I had to get my hands on the second book. Okay, and I actually got to meet her this month, this past month, and she signed my book. She gave me some book plates so that I can put it on my first edition of Immortal Dark. So these are the sisters. So you have Kiran and her sister, and honestly, I can't think of her sister's name right now. And then here you have Kiran and Suseños. It was just so good. And like, look at these, like, so this is the first book, okay, here. So it says, no soul can enter without an invitation. This is the newest one, which is Love is the First Enemy, Death is the Second. And her books, I mean, these are just like the regular editions that come out. This is not a special edition. It's just beautiful, gorgeous, and I love the vibrant colors. And I'm really curious to what book 3 is going to be, because book 3 will be releasing in 2026. So this is like the perfect time to pick these up. And I did do the audiobook for Immortal Dark, and I absolutely loved it. So if you're more of like audiobook, the audiobooks are incredible. So you can definitely go that route if you want. Next is another one that, similar to Immortal Dark, this is a brand new author to me. This book in particular had been on my TBR for, I think, yeah, probably 2 years. Like, probably 2 years. I had seen it. It had been on my TBR. My friend read it. She was like, you still haven't read it. You need to read it. I was with her when she bought book 2. And when she bought book 2, I'm like, you know what? I'll buy the first one. It was just sitting on my bookshelf. Didn't even read it. And now that I read it, again, I'm like, why? But that book is The Book of Azrael by Amber V. Nicole. This is a special edition that just came out, and it is absolutely gorgeous. I did go to a meet and greet of hers, and I ended up buying the other 3 books in the series. Technically, our meet and greet ticket came with the 4th book that just came out. I ended up buying the other 2 books when I was there because I'm like, she's here. I might as well have her sign. And I mean, look at this. Like, this is without, like, this is just printed on the book. And then you have the artwork here. This is Diana, and then you have Liam / Samkiel on here. When I went to the meet and greet, I had just started reading the book. So now, if I knew then what I know now, I think I would have been, I always get really nervous when I meet authors because they're like celebrities to me. But I would have been even more nervous, I think, and I would have been just like rambling and having 30 million questions. So yeah, I definitely wish I would have read more of it or finished it before I met her, but I'm so glad that I got to meet her. In this book, it starts off with Diana being just a badass. Like, she's literally beating somebody up on the first page. So she is morally gray, and she is this being that is immortal, and she has all these powers. She's super strong. Diana is pretty much working with Caden. Caden is this supernatural being that is pretty evil, honestly. He is ruthless. He has no mercy. She is the one that gets sent when he wants things to get done. One day while they're on this mission, he is looking for the book of Azrael. She doesn't know why. She doesn't know what is so important about this book. He just really wants it, and she is assigned to get it. And she's forced to be working for Caden because of her sister Gabby. And her sister was essentially granted eternal life, but every time that Diana is kind of stepping out of line in Caden's eyes, Gabby's life is threatened. And so Diana just does his bidding, but she's still a badass and she still speaks up for herself. But obviously there is at that limit because of her sister. And so on one of the days when she is looking for the book of Azrael, there is this being that ends up unaliving himself, and she thinks it's nothing, except Caden is like, what did you do? In comes Liam, aka Samkiel, who is this god. He is a true immortal being. He cannot die. And his basically mortal enemies for his kingdom are Igmaruthans, which is exactly what Diana is. And they hate each other. This is true enemies. He hates her. There's torture. There is so many things. I mean, they are fighting to the death pretty much, and it's just crazy. But a lot of things happen in this book, and I do not want to get into detail because I do not want to spoil anything, but just know that this book was so good. The graphic audio also just came out, and I definitely want to listen to it, even though I just finished this book, because I listened to a preview of the graphic audio and it already just sounded so good. If you have not checked out this book, please don't be like me. Pick it up now, join the club, and let's all continue on with this series. I listened to The Games Gods Play. I have here The Things Gods Break, which is actually book number 2. So it looks very similar to book number 1. I'm gonna put it down. I'm gonna pop the picture in here. In this book, you have Lyra. Lyra is a thief, but she's not really a thief. She works with like the den of thieves, but she's a receptionist and she works in the office. She doesn't actually do any like stealing or anything like that. And every single year the gods have these games. It's kind of Hunger Games style. You can definitely, you know, pass away. Other champions can unalive you. So it's very Hunger Games kind of. But obviously all the gods are picking somebody. So you have, you know, Poseidon picking somebody. Everybody's picking someone. And she ends up having this run-in with this man. She doesn't know who he is. And he ends up picking her to be the champion. And that's how she finds out that that was Hades. So Hades has picked her to be his champion. And this is the first time, and I think ever or a long time, that Hades has entered the games. So already she's kind of getting this target on her back because the gods are all suspicious of Hades. They don't know why he's joining these particular games in this time. And so Lyra has a lot of challenges and things that she has to go through. I did like the way that the games are assigned because each god is in control of that particular challenge, and there's magic involved and there's weapons involved, and you can definitely, like, if you win a challenge you get a benefit for the next challenge. There are some casualties, but it's not like Hunger Games exactly where you have to unalive somebody. Somebody might unalive you if they really see you as a threat, but that's not really the whole point of the games. You really just want to be winning each game that each god has, so that you can kind of advance. And there is a point system, so based on how many you win, you might be in the lead and have higher chances of winning. And everybody has their own reason for wanting to be a champion and wanting to win. Lyra did not want to join in the first place. Hades just picked her and she doesn't know why. But there are a lot of things that you end up finding out as the book goes on. And the way that it ended was like on a super big cliffhanger. So this second book, The Things Gods Break, is definitely a book that I want to read at the beginning of 2026. Next, I had these two smaller reads. So the first one was Fated to the Wolf Prince by April L. Moon. This is a free audiobook that is on Audible. And I listened to it just because I saw that it was on there. I'm like, okay, it sounds like there's obviously wolves and fated mates. Was it my favorite like wolf fated mates romance? No, but it was still pretty interesting. So in this one, you have the alpha. He's like the high alpha of all the different packs, and they invite all of their alphas to bring all of their pack that are not already with anyone, because he is trying to find his son. Basically his partner, our heroine in this book, she's part of this pack, and she goes and she immediately has this connection with the alpha's son, but doesn't really think anything of it until things start getting kind of weird and she's kind of going into heat and she doesn't know what's going on, and it's because of this alpha that has kind of triggered her heat, and it just kind of goes from there. Next, I did actually start my holiday reading already, and that was Krampus Kruk by Serena Peer. This is actually an age gap romance. This is the biggest age gap I have ever read. Morgan is 29 and Piotr is 64. He's described as like tatted, in shape, not like super ripped, but still you can see like abs and muscles. But the whole point of this novella, it's only like an hour and a half long. At home for the holidays, she's kind of over her family. She needs to go get a drink, and she runs into him at the bar. They're bantering, there's this like sexual chemistry, and they decide, you know what, why not have fun for a night and go from there? And that's exactly what they do. And lastly, I'm just gonna mention this one. It was a reread, but it was a very necessary reread, and that was Quicksilver by Callie Hart. This is actually the French version of it. It's beautiful. I had to. The artwork here as well. I mean, you guys, look at this. I had to. And then in the back, you guys, when I saw it, I had to order it. And you do have her in the back, I should say. You do have Sarah's here in the back. I saw an interview with Callie Hart, and her recommendation was to reread Quicksilver, read the free chapters that she has of Kingfisher's POV on her website, and then jump into Brimstone. And that is exactly what I did. So I reread Quicksilver. If you have not read it, this is like one of my favorite fantasy books for me. I know there's people that are like, it was just mid. That's fine. Everybody can have their own opinion. I loved it. That was not my opinion. I have 3 versions of this book. I have the regular paperback that people, I'm just gonna say, okay, people hate that cover. I don't know why. I love it. Me and my friend were talking about this. We love it, and I actually really would want a paperback version of that cover for Brimstone and the rest of the series, because I loved it. And I'm like, dude, I have this book. I want the other cover. So I'm really hoping that they do. I don't know that she will, because I honestly feel like people just bullied her because of this cover, and I'm like, you are the problem. Like, if you don't like it, just don't look at it. Put a paper over the cover, but read the book. Or you know what, don't buy the book, just read it on Kindle. It was so good. But honestly, let me just say, this is also a book that I listened to on audio, and I loved it. It has dual narration, which means if the male and female character are talking to each other, you have the male narrator you have the male narrator talking and the female narrator talking as well. That was a tongue twister. But you have them talking, and it just makes the experience so much better because you feel like you're there. Like, you feel like you're hearing them and watching them talk and banter. And Kingfisher is such a jerk, but I love him. I love him. And the quotes in this book, just amazing. I mean, look at this as well. I love it. I love it. And I didn't even really say what this was about, but basically we have Sarah Swain. She lives in this kingdom, and they're kind of separated. Again, kind of picture Hunger Games, but not really, only in like the districts, right? So there's different districts, different people, and obviously some of like the higher ones get all like the perks. They have more money, there's more food, there's water. But as you get further into the wards, you get kind of everybody's leftovers. And she happens to be in Ward 4, which is a very, very poor one. It's very common for a lot of people to die of hunger and die of thirst, which is very, very sad. It's very, very poor, but it's only her and her brother. And so her biggest thing that she does is she's really good at being a thief. She's really good at stealing and turning that around in order to keep her and her brother alive. And one day she happens to steal from this guard, and they end up catching her. And when she is there about to die, she's in the, castle, and all these things are happening. Shit is going down. There is this pool of quicksilver that activates, and out comes this man, and that man would be Kingfisher. And she is like kind of in and out of it. There's a lot of blood loss happening, and she's like, who am I? Like, I think I'm already dead, because I think this guy has pointy ears and is a fairy. But those were from a long time ago, and I thought those were just tales to tell us, to scare us as kids. So what is going on? Until she wakes up and she is in this totally different realm. And things just kind of go down from there. She wants to find her way back home. She wants to be with her brother. But this book, the banter, like, I laugh out loud to this book so many times. When I reread it, it just highlighted how much I loved this book. So I'm not gonna keep going because I already talked about it for so long, but I reread it. I loved it. I really, really do. And I would highly, highly recommend this book. But those were all of the books that I actually finished in November. I did start Brimstone, but yeah, that's gonna be for December. But these are all the books that I've read this month. Let me know if you are intrigued by any of them, if you are maybe going to check some of these out next year, or maybe you will wait for a series to complete, because I know some of these are kind of in between. They still have some books that are going to come out. So let me know if you'll be checking any of these out. But thank you so much for taking the time to watch this video, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye.